Hi, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be talking about being queer and being lonely, and why is it much more common for the queer community or for the people in the queer community to be much more lonelier than the general population, just to say. Now, I would like to say that being queer doesn't necessarily make you much more, uh, you know, lonely per se. Loneliness isn't sexuality specific or isn't gender specific or isn't culture or race specific. It happens to probably everyone at some point of their life. But there is actually a big difference between everyone and queer kids or queer people. And that big difference is they are queer. Yes, it may sound a little weird, like you are different just because you're gay or just because you're lesbian, but in this case, I think it could be the reason. Well, I'm not expert on this, but I am talking about this because I have faced this in my own life in general. So, yeah, that's why I'm talking about it. So, let's start the video by why queer people are much more prone to being lonely. Well, the first thing being, well, they cannot come out at a certain age or something. Like when a kid is born, they're easily said that, oh, they're going to be straight. There is generally in this stage of our uh, culture or society, there is no the quote unquote idea that a kid can have any sexuality. Usually, a kid is considered straight unless and until they are told otherwise, or they not unless and until they come out as otherwise. So, yeah, people usually tend to queer people who are usually queer don't tend to able to express themselves in a way that they can express themselves. And yeah, I have faced that in my life as well because, uh, when I was in my high school and stuff, and, people usually are with their girlfriends and they are, going through their life. I always found that a piece of my life is missing somehow, and I could not point a finger on what that part was unless and until I came out and I realized that, oh, that was the part that I was missing. I was not being myself. So, yeah, that is one of the reasons why queer people are much more lonelier because they cannot be themselves in a lot of places. And it does not just apply to school or high school or colleges. Like once you are over high school, that does not mean you won't be lonely or you will always be able to get to yourself. You can work in a place where being queer isn't necessarily good, it's frowned upon or something. So, yeah, it could be a lot of different factors, and not being yourself is a major one which affects queer people and why they see themselves as more lonely or why they're more lonely. The second thing that is kind of related to this same point but is actually kind of different is being surrounded by straight people. So, like go in a I went in a high school in a pretty small town and I was surrounded by everyone who was straight. So I did not have any real life role model as to see of, how my life would be if I really came out or something like that. So yeah, being surrounded by straight people made me believe that, oh, I need to be like them even though I feel different in certain areas. Like I need to be good in sports even though I don't like sports. I like literature and philosophical discussion and stuff like that. So yeah, like being surrounded by people who are not quote unquote totally like you actually kind of makes you much more lonelier. And this is unlike something that affects you throughout your life. It's something that affects you only until you haven't realized this is why you are lonely. So, like, once you realize that this is one of the reasons why you're lonely, you can actually actively go and search out people who are, you know, who have the same belief as you or who likes to do the same thing as you, and you can spend time with them, and thus you can, you know, not be as lonely as you are. Unlike the first point where you might need to hide your sexuality just because you work in a homophobic place or stuff like that. So, the third thing that I would say is why queer people are much more lonely is I am not 100% sure that this is one of the reasons, but it has something to do with younger age trauma. But I don't think everyone has that. But then again, like, is it a correlation thing? Like, people just who has younger age trauma are just be lonely? Like, correlation isn't equal to causation. So, just because you have a younger age trauma doesn't mean you will be lonely. It could mean different things, you know. But yeah, it is something to look upon and more research to be done. And I couldn't, yeah. Another question comes is how to do better. You know, like if you are lonely, how to do better. Do some of the things that I believe in you or anyone in general who are lonely can do to not be lonely. And then I will tell you what I did, if that makes sense. Because I'm not telling that everything that I did will work for you as well, but it might. So, one thing that you can always do is talk about your feelings, and not just with, queer people. Like, you might not be around queer people. Like, I wasn't when I was growing up. So, yeah, but talking about your feelings too, just as in everyone, like your friends, like even your straight friends and your parents, and yeah, like they might be a little bit, weirded out by that in the first because, you know, they haven't seen that from you, or maybe you don't do that. But believe me, talking about your feelings goes a long way. It actually not only like tells the other person what you're feeling, but it other person also becomes conscious in a way to act in front of you so that to not make you feel more, miserable. So just telling other people like how you feel at that moment or what you're feeling throughout the week is actually pretty helpful. And I've done that quite a lot of times with my straight friends as well. Like in college, I would be depressed and lonely and anxious, and I would actually talk to one of my friends about those feelings. And I'm not telling that you have to talk to every one of your friends because, not everyone will understand that probably, or maybe because all of my friends are not very uh, emotional. That's why. But anyway, apart from the fact that, yeah, I would talk with him eventually, and what, like he would just listen to me. Not, it's not that he would give me advice of how to deal with it or something like that, but he would just listen to me, and that was something that made me, reach a better place. Like, I'm not telling I was in a 100% place where in a place where I didn't feel lonely 100% of the time. I certainly did sometimes, and I certainly had other problems, but talking about it did help a lot. So the second thing that I would do is it's actually a mistake, and I would avoid that mistake if I could. And like if I could go back to the past and review my life, is that not using relationships or sexual encounters or just physical relationship or any form of quote unquote meaningless sexual relationship or even just jumping into a relationship when you're lonely. Because what happens is that when you are that lonely and that vulnerable, and when you quote unquote just use sex as a thing to, escape that loneliness, it actually doesn't help you that much. Believe me, it might feel good at that moment when you're like with that person, but after you're done, your loneliness will rebound back, and it will rebound back really hard. And that's the same thing with relationships. Like once you are actually in a relationship and you start depending on that person just to not feel lonely, which is not actually good because your partner isn't there just to make you less lonely. Your partner's there to, make you not certainly make you anything, but it just he's there because you both decided that you want to spend time together. And yeah, it's not necessarily that he has to make you feel good all the time. Like he has to, probably, otherwise why will you in a relationship? But yeah, don't go into a relationship without, feeling without dealing with your loneliness before. Because that relationship will become an anchor and you will keep going back to that relationship again and again, even if that relationship is toxic and not specifically good for you. Third thing that you can do, which I actually struggle with doing, is doing something that you absolutely love. Like I love writing a lot, and yeah, and it's just not about writing poems or writing short stories, like writing novels, like big, thick, juicy novels. So yeah, but I struggle to do that because it is also come down to a motivation thing sometime for me, because I'm so lonely that I don't want to write. But I also know that when I write, I feel good. So yeah, that's something. So yeah, try to do something that you actually really like, and it might have to do with like dance, or it might have to do with singing. It could be anything, but just do that because you like that, because it is important to do something that you like. And believe me, if you are lonely during that time and you do something that you like, even for 5 minutes, it goes a long way. I did not uh now I did not included coming out as a thing in this because I don't necessarily think coming out will help. Like it does help a lot, but if you are in a place where coming out won't help you, maybe it will get you kicked out of home or something like that, you should not do that. So yeah, like that's the logical thing to do. That's not the ideal thing to do, but that is the logical thing to do. So yeah, that is something to keep in mind, because I haven't come out to people actually. I'm just out to my friends and stuff. And even though I'm not out, I do not feel lonely all the time because I try to talk about my feelings and stuff. And I'm not telling I have got it 100% figured out. Like believe me, I haven't got it figured out 100% either. But yeah, it's something. It's something. It's not as good as it can be, but it is better than what it could have been. So yeah, if you want to keep watching videos of me, so consider subscribing to this channel. And yeah, I have also my Instagram and social media linked down below, and you can go and follow me there. And yeah, I have done a lot of things on this channel, and primarily I think I'll be using this channel to actually become better at speaking. Like I'm good at speaking, but there are things that I do like I say, I like a lot, a lot. So yeah, I would try to get better at those things. And I think like speaking to a group of strangers on the internet about things that I think is a way to get it done, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, all that cool stuff. Share this video, like this video, give it a big thumbs up because it helps the YouTube algorithm and stuff. I also say us stuff a lot. So yeah, my socials are linked down below if you want to follow me there, and shoot a message to me. If you like this, comment down below, like this video, subscribe, and bye.